What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Singing the Tea. I'm your host, Dustin, singer, actor, Lewis. You already know, sometimes I sing, sometimes I give you all of the reality TV tea, but it's always going to be what you want, and it's always going to be what you need. And listen, baby, we coming back with another episode of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. We coming back with another episode. And child, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, share with a family member, share with a friend. Let's dive right on into this episode. So, we are still on season 16, episode 14, chapter 2, Renew. So, the girls are still on their girls trip. This is the Renew trip. Shamia and Kelly are, Shamia and Kelly are the ones that are hosting this trip. So, yeah. But basically, it opens up with the ladies rehashing the night before. And, child, listen. Apparently, Britt got drunk. She had to get naked and take off her clothes so she could throw up, baby, because she didn't want to get nothing on the rental clothes that she had. She had to make sure them clothes stay safe. Listen, allegedly she rented them clothes. I don't know if the lady rented them or not, but child, the people are saying that the lady is broke, and I believe every word. But yeah, we getting ready to renew. We are getting ready to renew today. We see Angela calling Charles, and he don't answer. She said that Charles picked up for her own anniversary night, but girl, he ain't picking up now. Charles does not want to talk to you. Angela, listen. And we're gonna take a sip. Angela, I don't know. I'm you and Charles, I do like y'all, but sometimes y'all's relationship, it is a bit like, it's a little uncomfortable because we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do because we feel like he treats you bad, but then he doesn't. It seems like it works for y'all, but then at the same time, I'm like, Angela, are you hurting in this relationship? Because if you are, girl, just let us know, right? Blink twice if we need to come and rescue you out this relationship. I think it's a cool dude. I think that y'all have a wonderful dynamic. But if it's not serving you, girl, you're too old for that. Girl, get up out that situation. So, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, at the reunion, it was an announcement hey, there's a separation, or there is something with their relationship on them, kind of going their own separate ways. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened at the reunion. I'm just saying. So, Phaedra had me laughing. Kelly walked in and she had on her outfit, and Phaedra was like, baby, I got some paces in there that you can put on to cover up them things, because you got a lot going on with them big old bosoms. That was hilarious, seeing Phaedra just talk about everybody's outfits and just judging their outfits. That was funny. It had me weak. Now, Shamia still doesn't have any clothes, but her outfits, listen, for her to not have clothes, what she be stepping out the room in, she does look really nice. So, she did say she packed a couple of things in her carry-on, so that's good. So that's a good tip for anybody. If you are going on a trip, baby, put some stuff in your carry-on so you can make sure you have something to wear when you make it to your area. Shamia was smart for that. Now, as they're getting ready, the ladies are having breakfast and they are rehashing, the night before. And they're kind of talking about how some of the ladies were having arguments. And I love when Cynthia said this, because I cannot stand this in just my regular life when people are constantly cutting you off. Now, don't get me wrong. There are going to be some instances where it happens and it's not intentional. But if it's a situation where you're having a convo and stop talking when I'm talking. I'm going to try my best to not talk when you talking. Let's not cut each other off. And it's uncomfortable when there's a tension situation and you're observing it, and people are cutting each other off. That's uncomfortable as well, too. I don't like situations like that. So I'm with Cynthia. Just don't cut each other off. Don't cut each other off. Just hear each other out. So I'm with her on that. Now, I don't know what this energy is between Britt and Shamia and where it came from all of a sudden, but there is definitely something going on between them two. And we get into it later on in the episode, but their energy was definitely off. It seemed like it kind of stemmed from the not drinking, and then it kind of escalated a little bit, but I don't feel like it was that deep. We do get more information when we dive into it. So as the ladies are getting ready to head to, their location, so they split up. So how it's split is Kelly takes Drew, Angela, Britt, and herself. They go to the chef. They're going to a private cooking class. And then Shamia, Phaedra, Portia, and Cynthia go to the waterfall. So that's how they kind of split. Now, when they're in the car, Shamia is talking to the other ladies about, her and Britt's dynamic. Because she feels like Britt has been like kind of just like there's been some tension there between her and Britt. And she's not sure where it's coming from. She feels like she supported Britt. And, she starts throwing shade about Britt with the 2 packs of paper towels, tissues, and all she sent was $250. Now, I'm going to say this, right? The girl probably gave all that she could give. Maybe. I don't think that Britt has the coins like that. I think a lot of her stuff is maybe rented or borrowed. Maybe. But I think Phaedra did hit the nail on the head. Like, for them to be the caliber that they are, I feel like everybody should do no less than 1,000. So I do agree with Phaedra in that sense. Like, we not everyday people. We should be able to drop 1,000 because it's nothing for us to go and spend $200 and something on our nails. It's nothing for us to go and get a private plane, or for us to go and buy a Birkin bag, or to spend stuff on frivolous things. So y'all's a big word. So I do get where she's coming from, that they could have gave a little bit more. So I'm with Phaedra in that sense, that she could have done a little bit more. So we see the 2 cars chatting, and they're asking Phaedra, how she's vibing with the ladies, and they're getting to her and Angela. And she was like, I'm trying to feel Angela out. She's not too sure as of yet. But she says that she's cool with Charles. Now, she's saying that Charles doesn't act like he's married. She said he's a good time. She said it was like 10 years ago when she met him. So she doesn't really know, but he doesn't act like he's married. That's not the first time that we've heard this about Charles. So we're going to just leave that there. We already know Charles is going to be Charles. He seems like a cool dude, but he going to do him, and him and Angela it works for them. So we're just going to let it be. We're going to let it be. Now, it's like we were bouncing between the 2 cars. So we get Britt talking about, her and Phaedra having some mutual friends. We getting that, and then we have them talking about Drew as well. So there was a conversation about Drew, and Portia in the car. She was like, she just feels like the lapdog situation keeps coming up because of like her and Drew's situation. I don't feel like the lapdog situation between her and Shamia is that deep. I really feel like they could let it go and they can move on from it. Just somebody just has to be the initiator of that situation. Their situation is not that deep. They really don't have a situation. It's really just a misunderstanding if they can just like lay their differences aside and then just come to a common ground, because it's not that deep. It's really, really not. So, Shamia is letting them know that the Prime Minister of Grenada is coming to have dinner with them, so they need to make sure that they're on time. Now, Portia, you didn't have to bring up Drew talking about some, we gotta let Drew know, because, Drew be late. I be late, but she be real late. Portia, half these things, you be the last one to get there. You be the last one to get there, Portia, so I don't want to hear it. You be late, girl. And it ain't all right, but you be late. Don't try to throw that girl under the bus. Leave that girl alone. Let Drew have something. Now, they finally get to their destination, and, I really loved, I want to talk about the cooking first. I really loved that, like the history of the house, the views, like just seeing them cook a meal that's authentic to that culture in that area was really, really, really nice. Like, I really enjoyed that piece. And then also seeing Drew and Kelly, listen, y'all better jump on the men. There were some handsome men, and I can definitely see both of them with those men. So y'all jump on it, child. That was really funny, and that was cute. I really, really enjoyed that. And then seeing the other ladies at the waterfall, they look great. Shamia said she was a little self-conscious in what she wore, but girl, you looked amazing. You looked amazing. I know you said you wish you had a one piece, but girl, you looked good, baby. You ain't even got to worry about it. You look stunning. Now, the ladies, they sit down and they have their lunch, and Britt is talking about how she's in a good place or a better place with a lot of the ladies, because she essentially had tension with Angela. She had tension with Drew. I think that's pretty much it for the most part for her. She had tension with those 2 ladies, and being able to sit there with them. And Angela even says like she feels like they're working on mending their relationship, which is a great thing, because I feel like Brit's issues with everybody, it was more so Brit. Like Brit, a lot of these people they didn't have a reason to have an issue with you, and you honestly didn't have a reason to have an issue with them. They were just calling you to the carpet with some of the stuff they used to say. I know it might have been uncomfortable, but I mean, you gave them the ammunition for them to come at you. So, girl, please. Now, as you know, they are having their conversations. We switch over to the side with the waterfall girls, right? And Phaedra is talking about Britt, and she was like, she thought it was a little weird that Britt brought up Apollo. She was like, it's weird that she brought him up, excuse me. And I'm gonna say this: Apollo ain't a part of this show. We are not finna Apollo us to death. We are not. Y'all did that when Phaedra was on Married to Medicine. Enough with the Apollo situation. Britt bringing that up was weird. I don't think she was being shady. It just was weird because Apollo had nothing to do with that. And that's kind of what they were trying to get her to see earlier in the conversation before they made it to the thing. Like, girl, like, you just kind of brought that up out of nowhere. And she was like, y'all can't tell me what to say. Right. But you shouldn't have said that. Like, we can't tell you what to say, but we trying to give you some advice on, like, girl, don't say everything that comes to mind because that had nothing to do with the evening. It had nothing to do with anything. These people were trying to figure out if Drew was over here talking to Black. And speaking of which, Kelly is asking her, she holds up a napkin and she was like, what's up with this? And, it was a black napkin. And Drew was saying, she is waiting. She's going through a divorce. She's waiting till she's out of that. I think she said that her and Black have flirted, but they are just friends. She doesn't have anything with him. And if they're just friends, cool. They're just friends. That's what she said. They just friends. So I'm a go with Drew. She's saying she just friends with this man. She just friends with him. But Drew, if you are dating him, girl, it's all right. Girl, have fun. Do you. But I can understand her wanting to wait until she's fully out of her situation before she starts anew with somebody else. So I can 100% get that. So that was it. And that was basically it from the lunches that the ladies had. But when we get in the rides back, because the ladies have to be on time for the prime minister dinner tonight. And in the car ride back, seeing Porsha and Shamia just having fun with each other, it was so refreshing. It was so nice. I hope we get more moments like that. And if they are having issues in their friendship, I hope they can look back at that moment and realize, like, y'all, it can get back here. It's easy for y'all to get back here. Put your differences aside, understanding each other's perspective, process that, and then move forward. That's what they really, really have to do. And honestly, just be honest with each other and iron out those details of what's really, really going on. Now, as the ladies are getting ready for dinner, we see Angela calling Charles, and baby, he was petty. I don't know if he just doesn't want to necessarily be on camera, or he was really annoyed. I don't know, but he was doing just a little too much for me. It was just too much, I get it, but it just was a little too much. It was a little too passive aggressive, my guy. Like, just talk to the lady. Like, give her something. Like, she's on a girls trip. She missed y'all's anniversary, and she's saying, I'm not there. We can't do things that we would normally do. I understand that, but he could have flew out there and surprised you. Like, there could have been so many things that he could have done. I don't think the ladies would have minded if he did that, like just for a one-off night or something. But he was doing too much. So when the ladies finally make it to dinner, they start having a conversation, and Kelly was like, she appreciates them doing this, like being there in Grenada, being able to help the people. And that kind of snowballs into the donating portion of it. Porsha talks about, how she gave her stack, she gave her 1,000. And then Shamia goes into her speech about her feelings about donating, saying, we got to show up like we present. If you driving a Rolls Royce and you got a Birkin bag, you should be able to drop more than the average person. You should be able to do a little bit more. And, and Britt was like, that was shady. She caught the shade. And I'm going to be real with you. Y'all know I love Shamia down. That's my girl. But Shamia, you were being shady. And I think the thing there were a couple of things here with this situation that happened. And let's break it down. One, Shamia, you were being shady. You were being shady. Kelly adding on to it with the like, what Brie just didn't necessarily know, she didn't know that to donate. She didn't know what to do or what not to do. You're adding more fuel to the fire, and I think that you shouldn't have said anything, especially by her being your best friend, the way that y'all are phrasing it to us on this show. The thing, Shamia, what I would have appreciated you doing in that moment, I would have had more respect for you in that moment if you would have said, hey girl, yeah, this is about you. Like, hey Britt, I'm bringing to you, like, the way that you donated for this, I didn't appreciate it. I felt like you could have done a little bit more, especially the way that you present yourself to this group. I think that that's something that you absolutely should have done. And moreover, the reason I feel like you should have just had the conversation with her is because you said that you had a dinner with her at Houston's and talked to her about the situation. So it has me looking at you weird, like, okay, you and her have already talked about it. She asked you how much she should give, and you were like, God favors those who are generous. Cool. So she gave what she felt like was a good enough amount, right? And then now you're bringing it up in front of the group. So I can get where she's a little like annoyed or she's a little aggravated about the situation because she's like, girl, me and you talked about this. Why are you doing this? And why are you being passive aggressive and going around me when you can just talk to me directly? Like, me and you better than that. So I will say, Shamia, I didn't appreciate that. And I'm going to say this. Once again, I'm not saying that Shamia is wrong in this other situation, but I can understand from that how possibly her and Portia's friendship has been a little like rocky, especially with like her navigating this friend group with the other ladies. Because how you did that situation with Britt, you talked to her on the side, then you brought it up in front of the group and made it seem like you weren't talking about her when you clearly were. She knew you was talking about her because you and her have had a conversation on the side. And then the ladies are saying that you are bringing up things about Porsha on the back end. And then you're upset when Porsha brings it in front of the group. Like, you can't. Like, Shamia, you are such a great housewife in so many aspects. I feel like that's the one thing that I want you to just stand in it, which I feel like in most situations you do a really, really good job of. I don't know why you're being passive aggressive with certain things. Like, girl, just say what it is. Even before y'all headed to dinner, like with the whole shot situation, I feel like you were doing a little too much. Like, Britt was just saying, like, and even Britt said, like, it ain't that deep. Like, I was just saying I wasn't going to take a shot. Like, Shamia, you were just doing a little bit too much. And I don't know if maybe you were just frustrated because you didn't have your luggage or what it was. But it seemed a little out of character for you. It seemed a little out of character. It seemed out of character for you from what we've seen on the show. It just doesn't seem like that's something that you would do. So I didn't necessarily care for that. And then, Porsha tries to have a conversation with Britt about support, right? She tries to have a conversation about, Britt saying that she didn't necessarily feel supported, but Portia's letting her know, like, hey, you haven't done things for us to truly get to know you. Like, you're still fairly new. We haven't hung out. We haven't done a one-on-one. You never invited me to your home. And, Britt's like, well, you haven't invited me to your home either, Porsha. And Porsha was like, listen, it's not a tit for tat. I think that Britt was just already on 10 from the Samir situation because what Porsha was saying to her honestly wasn't that bad. I think Porsha was just trying to give her like, hey, look, you are saying that you don't feel supported. These are things that you can do that can help us get to know you more so that we can show up, so that we can support you more because we haven't had those moments. So they start getting into it, child, and the prime minister is rolling up and they acting a fool while the man is pulling up, baby. He already got the Secret Service out there. Y'all gonna get locked up over there. Just calm down. Bring it down. So, speaking of the prime minister, he pulls up. I will say, he was very handsome. He was a very, very, very good-looking man. Like, I wasn't expecting that. He said he had a 17-year-old, and it seemed like he didn't know the age of his other child because he never brought it up. So we just going to leave that where it's at. But he seems to be a single man. And when they were talking about who would be a good first lady, y'all already know who's going to be the best first lady over there. Porsha. Baby, Porsha going to have it going on over there in Grenada, baby. It's a grip. I feel like I get the name wrong every time I do a review. I feel like I start good and then I just mess up the name. Hold on. I'm going to look it up this time because last time I ain't look it up and I feel like I need to get it right. The Prime Minister, where's it in my notes? Yeah, Grenada. All right, cool. I got it right. Whew, child, I got nervous. But yeah, but her and Porsha, no, talking about the Prime Minister, I think Porsha make a lovely first lady over there, Porsha. Porsha, do what you gotta do, girl. Throw that big donkey on her, girl, so we can see, Real Housewives of Grenada, child. I would love to see Porsha over there serving the people, salt fishing and IKEA, whatever the people over there eating, girl. I would love to see it. I vote Porsha. Second will be Kelly. My second will be Kelly, and then Phaedra don't need to go around there. Phaedra just don't need to go around there. I don't think that's meant for Phaedra. Phaedra, you need to date in the States. You don't need to date over there. Or you can date in Dubai. You get you somebody over there, Phaedra. That's what you need to do. I think that'll be really good for you. Now, the ladies surprised Angela with a cake, because they were having a conversation about the Prime Minister and talking about how he looked single and, but Britt was like, some married men don't wear their wedding ring. And Angela was like, Charles is one of them. And they surprised her with a cake to celebrate her anniversary. And she gets emotional about it. And I get she got emotional because, he's not there. But Angela, honestly, it is starting to feel like there is more to that story than what you are leading on. Like, just the way that y'all interact, it does not interact y'all don't interact like a couple. Y'all truly interact like two friends. Like, hey, we used to be together. We have children with each other, so we just in each other's space. But child, we are not together. That's kind of how it gives for y'all. But I hope it works out. But like I said, I can just see at the reunion there being some like separation or like, oh, he's living in one house and I'm living in the other. Especially with all that debt and stuff that y'all have, I think that can cause stress and strain on any relationship. So I can see there being a little tension there from y'all. Now, as they are leaving, and I think it was Angela, she asked Britt, like, hey, girl, how you doing? You good? And she was like, well, I still don't feel like we resolved it. And Portia's like, listen, girl, I was just trying to tell you, you can invite people over. Like, we ain't getting nowhere. Let's just end it. And I appreciate Porsha for doing that because we know Porsha could go to 10 because when she was calling Porsha baby, I can tell Porsha was getting ready. She was getting up there, right? But she kept it cool. Porsha's been keeping it pretty even keel. She ain't been going too rah on people, this season. I would like to see a little bit more of it personally, but she ain't been going too hard. And Britt was just carrying it over, and like I said, I think that it was just drama from the Shamia situation, and she just was upset with that. I don't think she's really upset with Porsha. And when they get in the car and Phaedra was talking to her, Phaedra was telling her right. Like, Phaedra was telling her, like, listen, girl, you are doing too much and you are putting yourself in the hot seat because these people are just trying to give you a perspective and you doing too much. Like, you just doing too much. You are wanting this energy. You are wanting to just cause a mess of the situation and just let it go. Like, it's not that deep. Like, girl, chill out. It was too much. So I appreciated Phaedra in that moment, like giving her some words of wisdom because I really feel like Britt needed that. Like, just take it easy, be cool. Here's the thing, though. I feel like Britt overcorrected. Like, when we get to the end of this episode, I think she did a little too much and she overcorrected because, when Shamia gets the call from her husband about the heartbreaking situation with her daughter, Shamia's having a really rough time, and I appreciate it, and I love seeing the ladies rally around Shamia when they made it back to their place, and I love seeing it, but Britt, it just seemed a little too much. Like, it was a little too much, and the way you were crying, the way you were carrying on, and I was like, did she get drunk at some point, and we just didn't see it? Because when I tell you, Britt, first of all, Drew's face was telling it all. It was like, Britt, like, okay. Shamia was like, okay, hugging it out, they good. But then you was like, okay, I'm going to get shot. We're going to take shot. All right, this is in honor of Shamia. I thought that was cute. I did. She was like, okay, I'm going to pour champagne for everybody. And then you just got naked in the kitchen. I don't know where that came from. So, Britt, you're going to have to help me understand what happened. And you didn't go to the reunion, so we can't ask you in. But I'm just so confused as to how you went, you went left, girl. And I don't really know why. It was wild. You went left, the situation went left. Child, and I ain't really too much understanding why. But, child, that's essentially where the episode ends. The episode was okay. I think it was a really good episode for the most part. It gave us some really good scenes. It gave us seeing the ladies rally behind each other, seeing Porsha and Shamia become those good friends again. I loved seeing all of that. But that is all of the episode. So don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, share with the family member, share with a friend, share with the person next to you in the cubicle, so that and hit the notification bell button so you get all of those alerts when I drop new content. Also, you can hit me up on TikTok, you can hit me up on Instagram, all of those good things for different viewing pleasures. But with that, have a good one, everybody. I'll see y'all next time.